and spilled out the molten bile of hell. And the people made ceremony to the gods. And fear, the grotesque makeup of death, danced on their faces all night. And only in the blood-red dawn, when enough light had been spilled into the darkness, could fear be chased away. At the core of all man's fear lies his most awesome fear of death. At the center of all his ceremony is his hope for immortality. Since the beginning of his time on Earth, man has cajoled his gods with music and dancing, and satisfied their hunger with ritual and sacrifice. And he built temples where he could bring his fear and his hope, the darkness and light that formed the contrasts of his religion. At first, his gods were simple in their conception, some made to be feared and some to be loved. Angry gods of fire, flood, volcano, tidal wave, and hurricane. Benign gods of earth, mountain, forest, rain, harvest, and fertility. And each had their place in the well-ordered manner of things and in the proper balance of darkness and light. And so it was also on the beautiful island of Bali, where the balance of nature seemed eternal, and where its people came to believe that their island was the center of the earth, and that the fiery Mount Gunung Agung was the very navel of the world. And then, 1,000 years ago, Hinduism came, and the Balinese took those rituals they liked from it and assimilated them to make a religion that was neither the animism of their original beliefs nor the Hinduism of India, but became instead a vast pantheon of religious power that culminates in the great ceremony of the 11 powers. It must be said that life in Bali revolves so much around religion that the two are fused in a weld that cannot be separated. The agonizing ritual of tooth filing is central to all belief. At puberty, the 6 upper teeth must be filed to allay the 6 spirits of jealousy, lust, anger, dishonesty, infidelity, and greed. These must be purged from the body before it assumes the responsibility of adulthood and marriage. Without tooth filing, there is no cremation. If death should occur before the ritual takes place, then a macabre tooth filing ceremony takes place after death to prepare the soul for reincarnation. From birth to death to a Balinese, life is a complicated series of rituals designed to keep him and his world in balance. The Balinese wedding ceremony is a most propitious time to pay homage to the gods. Elopement is the most popular way of beginning a marriage. The couple run away together with the unspoken approval of both families, who allow the honeymoon to take place before the wedding.
si namaswa. Wang batarayang guru ana pong tawarin pun si ayo aja singa mau malawi dan seledak nyale pun ana si namaswa.
Ya mo bilang apit. Do katone na Baling market ito ha. Pero bilang ko.
But it is in death that the grandest of rituals is played out in the personal life of the Balinese. The final act in all lives is cremation, for only in fire can a soul be released from the body for its personal day of judgment and reincarnation. Those souls who have abused life to be punished in hell, and those who have used life well to be returned to their family in some future generation, or even granted nirvana. Life of the Balinese is a performance that has been written from the moment of birth to the last flickering flames of death. The Hinduism of Bali is a relatively recent event in that 5,000-year-old religion, but with its introduction came recorded history in the form of the lontar, writings etched into the spine of the palm leaf. The lontars were written by extremely holy men adept in meditation, and the most ancient of lontars tell of the greatest of all ceremonies, the Eka Dasa Ludra, the festival of the 11 powers. It is a festival which may take place at the close of each Balinese century, or at such time when the high priests see signs and happenings that show the world to be out of balance. The purpose of this festival, which is a great demon exorcism, is to placate the demonic part of the nature of the gods, so that the gods in their benevolent forms can bring happiness, prosperity, peace, and harmony to Bali and the world.
Iya kan widananing taur Eka Dasa Ludra ngaran.
In 1963, centuries after the last 11 powers ceremony, the holy men proclaimed a new Eka Dasa Ludra. But it was 16 years before the turn of the Balinese century, and man's impetuous decision angered the gods. Gunung Agung, the navel of the world, erupted without warning, killing all in its path. It was the first eruption for centuries, and it had occurred on the second day of Eka Dasa Ludra. It was clear that the 11 powers ceremony must be quickly brought to a close. The Eka Dasa Ludra of 1963 had been a terrible mistake. The number 11 is the most magical numeral in the Balinese religion. The fact that Gunung Agung claimed 1,100 victims was a terrible omen. Daily, as the people dredged the volcanic ash from the beds of the river for use in their fields, they were reminded of the wrath of the gods, and they waited for a new sign that it was time for Eka Dasa Ludra. On the 22nd of April, 1974, at exactly 11 p.m., it came. On a routine international flight to Bali, an aircraft crashed into the mountains, killing all on board. It happened exactly 11 years and 11 days since the eruption of Mount Gunung Agung. When the flight manifest was checked, it was also discovered that the victims represented 11 nations. To the Balinese, this tragic conjunction of the number 11 was not merely an extraordinary coincidence. It was clearly a sign that in accordance with the Lontars, another 11 Powers festival must take place. It was decided to hold the festival to coincide exactly with the new Balinese century, the year 1900 on the lunar calendar. And it was to the most ancient temple at Besaki on the slopes of Gunung Agung that the priests once again came to ask the gods for permission to hold the Eka Dasa Ludra. It was a time of great caution and fear, lest the gods be offended and turn once again on the people. There are no good or evil gods in the Balinese religion. The gods are both, and all the gods are in fact a simultaneous manifestation of the one supreme god, Shiva. The most all-embracing grouping of the gods is in the number 11, where Shiva takes on the form of the 11 major gods. Each of these gods is a guardian of a section of the world, represented by the 8 points of the compass, as well as the upper, middle, and lower worlds, represented by the center. While the priest prayed, many strange phenomena were reported. In the holy kitchen of Besaki, a red snake appeared as a vision in the cooking oil, and rice had boiled without water. The gods, by these signs, had accepted the invitation to attend in their honor. Permission to begin the festival had been granted. In the holy kitchen at Besaki and throughout Bali, preparation of the tens of thousands of offerings to the gods could begin.
Lami tinggal lot ni kami terus tinggalin. Kerja ni kami tinggalin, ada bagian yang lorat.
It was now time to build the official residence for the gods. 11 elaborate altars must be erected, one for each of the 11 powers. The size of the area is measured precisely according to an ancient formula laid down in the Lontas. 14 times the arm span of the high priest, plus the length from his elbow to his fingertip, plus the length of the top joint of his thumb. This area is now declared the exact center of the earth. It is from here that the gods will preside over the restoration of the 3 harmonies. Harmony between all mankind, harmony of man with his environment, and harmony between God and man. Before the great formal ceremonies of the Eka Dasa Ludra could take place, the earth itself must be cleansed in a symbolic release of the dead from their earthly ties. This ritual takes place in a procession to the sea. Burial in the Hindu Balinese religion is only temporary, a prelude to cremation. The ashes of the dead are contained within effigies of the dead, and these are kept within the family. It is these effigies which must now be burnt in a post-cremation ritual, and it is the ashes of these effigies contained in yet another effigy that must be thrown into the sea. Then the dead will not return to earth, except at some later time of reincarnation. chicken and a duck are symbolically sacrificed to the sea. Offerings to the sea have a dual purpose. It is both a place where the demons dwell and the water of the essence of life. Denpasar, the capital of Bali, is designated as the crossroads for the ceremonial holy water brought to the 11 Powers Festival. Holy water is requested from 10 places on the island of Bali and from a sacred spring on Mount Semeru, the holy mother volcano on the island of Java. The holy water, contained in slender bamboo cylinders, is carried non-stop through days and nights to its destination. Such is the power of the holy water that often those who carry it enter a deep trance. In a rare practical concession, the writings in the lontas allow that holy water is contagious and that a single drop added to a container of fresh water will also render that water holy. Here, using holy water, the women of the sacred kitchen wash the rice to be used in the offerings to the gods. The Melasti March is one of the most spectacular of the events building up to the great day of sacrifice and exorcism. It is the time when the statues of the gods kept in the temple of Besaki are taken to the sea for purification. The gods are invited to take up residence in the statues and thus give them life. The 33-kilometer march begins with an escort of 1,000 people who represent every village and the 4 castes that make up the population of Bali. Over 200,000 Balinese will join this great walk, for it is believed that this procession is, in fact, the symbolic carrying of all the evil in the world to the sea to be washed away. Despite temperatures and humidity at a maximum level, the entire 33 kilometers will take only 6 hours. is late afternoon as the huge crowd approaches the sea. The people have marched since morning with only a little water and rice to keep them going. To the Balinese, the sea is not a friendly place. They do not regard it as a benevolent supplier. The sea is the dwelling place of the most fearsome and malevolent demons and monsters who must be constantly placated. It will be well into the night before the purification ceremony will take place, and before a young buffalo will be sacrificed to the demons of the sea. The Balinese do not regard live sacrifice as cruel. All animals used as sacrifices will be automatically reincarnated into a higher form of life, perhaps human, a great gift of the gods. It is almost as if the animal is aware of its destiny, as it does not struggle or attempt to resist. A great stone has been tied around the neck of the young calf, and the boat will now be taken out far into the inky sea, where the monsters are known to dwell. There, the young animal will be thrown overboard. Later that evening, both the crowd and the gods are entertained at a nearby town, where, until the early hours, great stories are told of kings and demons and the eternal struggle between good and evil. The procession begins again at daybreak with a 4-hour march to the holy temples at Sitiman, where the gods will be shown, and where for a day they will rest. Later this day, while the gods rest, 9 other ceremonies take place at points throughout Bali. Each of these ceremonies will involve the sacrifice of live animals, and they are intended to purify the 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Of these 9 sacrifices, the one of central importance is the sacrifice to the fiery Gunung Agung. The fear persists among the people that the angry mountain and the gods who dwell within it may yet reject man's efforts to restore the balance of the earth and once more breathe its fire upon the land. It is a back-breaking 15-hour climb to the 11,000-foot summit of Mount Agung, where the sacrifices are to take place.
aturan pekelan. Manggil selamat.
Saya niki, nados.
Ye, makin nentan mo kakaman.
Pak, turun mon. Dot, bukan di situ.
Bang kami, ini ada ini kintan.
Ye, makin sampun kaden, malih sampun niki.
Nggih, minat sampun.
Niki dah kelamang sini anak.
Gunung Agung does no more than growl and seems satisfied. On the third day, the great procession arrives back at Besaki. Most of the people have slept no more than a handful of hours in 3 days, but before they can rest, they must place the gods in residence. This is the day when almost one of every creature of the earth, sea, and sky that inhabits Bali must be sacrificed. The sacrifice is aimed at harmonizing man's world and everything in it. It is intended to redeem all negative forces and to allow all creatures to regain their divine forms. The Lontas even speak of the sacrifice of humans during previous Eka Dasa Ludras.
Sani dan maban-aban, sani nenten makarya merantau sen wawalung keluar kami.
In a grand parade of death, every creature that is to be sacrificed to the demons is led 3 times clockwise around the temple to symbolize eternity. Among the doomed creatures is an anteater, a weasel, bats and beetles, porcupines and badgers, and a rat from the sewers of Denpasar. There are ganders, a crow, and a peacock, all the fish of the sea, and a once ferocious shark. A great crocodile is carried in a wooden crate, too fierce to be allowed to move freely within the procession.
Malah diolah. Jero, hidangnya kemantan sambut dan enak kan.
Each beast is tapped with the sacrificial knife of the blacksmiths, which renders it symbolically dead. It is considered a great final honor that these creatures are so blessed. There is tremendous tension in the crowd as the executioners fall into a deep trance. If the gods are not satisfied, then this is the moment when they are most likely to show their displeasure. Wednesday, the 28th of March, is the new moon of the 9th month. It is the last day of the Balinese century. The great day when the whole earth must be purified and the balance of good and evil restored to man's universe. From all over Bali and from all over the world, people have come to attend and to make their personal offerings. The final ceremony will take place where the 11 shrines have been erected, now the most magical spot on all the earth. All of the 11 powers together, representing the totality of the universe. Red is for the south and the god Brahma, god of fire. Black is for the north and the god Vishnu, the great protector, symbolized by water. While the supreme deity, the god Shiva, is multicolored, the consensus of all directions. White is for the wind and east, the color of the god Ishwara. Yellow is the color of the great god Mahadeva, god of the earth, representing west. Pink to the southeast is the domain of the god Maheswara, Sankara is green and the northwest. Blue for Sambhu, northeast. And orange for Rudra, god of the southwest, who gives his name to this whole ceremony. It is to this pantheon of deities that the people come. Animals killed in yesterday's great sacrifice have been brought here, and they will be mixed with the sacred rice as part of the offerings to the demons. The enclosure is full, and still the people bring more offerings. For weeks past, in every village and town, in every household, the people have been busy making offerings to bring to the gods on this most magical of all days. In return, they hope for a simple blessing, and to be allowed at the day's end to take home a handful, or even just a single grain, of holy rice.
Nyarunin muda ring buana alen. Jadi kakiran memiliki ring kena kaur. Wani persembayangan 1 jam. Tani jadi rau. Bacaan kekawin.
The great final ritual has begun as the first of 23 priests officiating purifies himself with holy water from the sacred Mother Mountain in Java. 2 high priests from each of the 11 shrines plus 1 exorcist priest take part, as it was written 1,000 years ago in the ancient lontar's.
Saya persilakan para bupati dan juga pengusaha adat dan agama, saya persilakan untuk menjemput di tangga kelantunan. Terima kasih.
And now the sacred rice is prepared.
Untuk mengantar kata Presiden dari Indun Suasana guna menuju Bali Bening, dilanjutkan dengan kata-kata penyelamatan disertai penyampaian kepada Bapak Presiden oleh Bapak Gubernur.
And now the great conch shell is blown to summon all the demons from all directions to eat their fill of the sacrifices and then to leave, so that the gods can bring peace and harmony to the world. Prays not only for itself but for all mankind, that the soul of each living person may know perfect harmony, and that our world be cleansed of man's inhumanity to man.
Dilanjutkan dengan kata-kata pengamu disertai pengantian ini kepada Bapak Presiden oleh Bapak Gubernur dan Menteri Sosial oleh
The climax of the festival of the 11 powers is over. The gods have enjoyed themselves, and each person may have a portion to take home. The crowds now leave to prepare for the day of quiet, the first day of the new Balinese century. Bali is left completely still on this day. The people remain indoors without fires or lamps, and there must be no work done for 24 hours. It is a day when the world begins afresh, its balance restored. And for a brief moment, there is no evil in it at all.